Okay, so we're going to look at how to ace the exam. Engineer Paul uh, also took the course and training some months back, and he successfully passed the exam. And there are some changes to the exam that we need to note. Okay, so let's look at the we're going to look at where we're coming from. This is the exam content outline 2021, and we're going to look at what changed in 2026. We'll talk about the new exam format and question types, and then we're going to hear from Engineer Paul how he passed his exam. We'll talk about something a lot of people take for granted, and that is time management. Time management is very, very important, and how to manage your time on the exam, and key takeaways. So the exam changed July after about 5 years. And this is, the last update was in 2021. And we had, you know, 8% of the exam was based on the business environment, right? 50% of the exam was based on processes, and 42% of the exam was based on people. And when we talk about business environment, we're talking about environmental factors that influence business delivery, things like the personal analysis, political factors, economic factors. Business environment talks about where we talk about compliance, risk, and business environments where we talk about organization structure and change management. So business environment in the 2021 exam domain took about 8%, process took about 50, and people took about 42%. Please remember that the exam is 180 questions. So the process section of the exam took 90 questions. Business environment and people made up the other 50%. And the exam is divided. Then in 2021, the exam was 50% of the questions were on waterfall, and the other 50% was agile and hybrid. So this is where we're coming from. And before July 2020, before July 2026 this year, this was basically the exam format. But what has changed is there's been a redistribution of the exam content such that there are still three domains, that's people, process, and business environment. But what has been updated is what we have in orange. So they've reduced the process and people. Process used to be 50% of the exam, now it's now 41%. People used to be 42%, now it's now 33%. And now both of them were reduced to increase business environment. Now, business environment is now what is taking 26%, which means there's more concentration on the value delivery to the business, right? And that is what we see in the current domain. Also, in the current domain, there's a shift from the balance between waterfall. Let me use another color. the balance between waterfall and agile is now tilting more to agile. So waterfall is 50%. No, waterfall is now 40% of your exam. Agile and hybrid are now 60% of the exam. So in the current exam, you're going to expect more you're going to expect more agile and hybrid questions than waterfall. So of course, this means that you should be able to talk about sprints. You need to understand the four events. When we talk about Scrum, so you need to practice more agile for the current exam, right? So for it's now tilted more to agile, unlike 2021, that was a balanced mix of waterfall, agile, and hybrid. So that's the current reality. There are more agile questions here. Also, the tasks have reduced. Every domain has tasks. We have tasks under process, people, and business environment. The tasks are now fewer. We had 35 tasks in 2021. We have 26 tasks in 2026. And now, one of the additions that Mr. Paul is going to, Engineer Paul is going to talk about is the addition of AI into the exam. You saw a number of AI questions. And of course, I've said more agile and hybrid. And then sustainability. If you've done the training, our new training on the PMBOK 8th edition, sustainability is now a principle. We talked about 6 principles. Sustainability is one of the 6 principles in project management now. So we have 6 principles and sustainability, which is talking about long-term thinking about environment, about the business environment, social factors. So we think more sustainably about, the project. So sustainability and AI have been added to the exam. Now, the exam format, and of course, Engineer Paul will talk about this as well. We have what we call the case study types, case study type question. And in case study type of questions, you're going to have one case study and 4 or 5 or 10 questions to a case study. Now, in the history of the PMP exam, they've never used case study. But now we're seeing that they're using case study. They'll give you one scenario and then several questions. Before, it is usually one question and then you have, you answered multiple choice. But now they're using case study. There's multiple answers. There's image-based matching. There's drag and drop. There's pull down. Then, of course, the scenarios. So the exam has changed, and that's why joining this meeting is very important if you're taking your exam soon. And that's one of the reasons we're inviting Engineer Paul. I wrote my exam in 2008, which is almost 20 years ago, almost. So my exam was just simple, multiple choice. There are no, that was it really. But now the exam has changed and there's a lot of dynamics, So Engineer Paul is going to talk to us about all this. So I think I'm going to bring him up because I'm old school in this area. So Engineer Paul, please can you unmute and let's meet you? Engineer Paul, can you unmute and let's meet
Yeah,
you?
yes, sir. Yes, coach. I have,
Awesome,
sir.
awesome. All right, so we have we have Engineer Paul in the house, and yes, congratulations once again on your exam. So I'd
Thank
like,
you, sir. Thank you.
yes, sir. So I'd like to ask you, how did you ace the exam? What did you do? And probably let's start with a case study because you know, that's the that's the newest thing on the block. Then I remember you also told me about AI. So can you share light on those things? Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for the privilege. I want to welcome everyone to this platform. I've been here before many times, trained under our great coach. There's a reason why I call him coach. He had impacted me a great deal. First of all, before I quickly talk about that, I don't know if you can permit me just maybe 2 minutes to just share a little bit of how my journey had come to as pro. You know, I
Yes,
don't know if you
please,
could
please
allow
go
me
ahead.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
please go ahead. Please go
All
ahead.
right. Thank you so much. Yes. So first of all, my organization wanted to get me trained and get me certified. Pay for all of that. But then I also look at the other side of it that has to do with organizational politics. You have to sign a bond and all of that. So I decided not to go that route. So I was now looking for where or the center where I can actually get trained. So I got one. And when I got there, I was sincerely very disappointed. While in class, they ran through some of questions for us. I was doing very well in answering those questions. But, those could not have prepared me for the exam I had actually. So when I got back, I started using my ChatGPT to run up questions for myself. ChatGPT was asking me cheap questions and I was answering them. So I thought I knew something. So, and then then another time I now told ChatGPT to actually get me tougher questions. So it got me tougher questions. I couldn't answer some. So then I was reading the PMBOK six, guide, sixth edition, and I discovered that there were a lot of questions there. Yeah, but how practical are those questions to the exam that I was to take? I didn't know. I really didn't know much about the whole thing. I was calling my tutor, but it was not answering me, even access to materials. It was a tug of war. So when eventually I met a friend who then told me that, okay, why not meet Aspro, and then, register for his class again. So I came on and then I registered. So when I registered, my eyes were open to a lot of things that I didn't even know existed, to be honest. I just felt it was just all knowledge-based questions I was going to be expecting. But then when I started taking the classes here, I discovered that even my approach to project management in my job was actually a little bit, improved almost immediately. So it wasn't that it was training us just to pass exams. It was training us to actually be better project managers. So I took that and I saw improvement in how I deliver my job. And then again, I then started looking at how I was going to take that exam and ace it. So I started training with some questions that he gave to us. I was really, really behind. Honestly, there were times I could solve. There were, a couple of questions he would give to us, like 15 questions in each of the domain, or knowledge areas. So I discovered that I was getting probably 6/15. There was one that was so horrible to me. I got 3/15. I was like, wow, how do I, start and all of that? So I told him. he then said that that was not a problem. So I was first startled. What do you mean that was not a problem? If you could remember very well, coach, that's what he told me, that I should just go over the corrections and see, you know, what there are the reasons why I actually failed, and those questions I got, what were the reasons why I got them. So they were, snippets of explanations on all of those. So those were the things I started with, and on and on like that. But at each point, I know that, you know, there's no way I could have taken that training just for the sake of training of 35 hours and ace that exam. Honestly, I needed a coach, and Aspro came through for me. For that, I just want us to put our hands together for him. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Hello. Yes. Okay. All right. So I'm audible.
Recommendation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
about the thank you, sir. So about the case study questions. Yeah, I went to that exam because I read a couple of things about case study, but I didn't know sincerely that they were going to be like that. I thought they were going to be like comprehension questions or comprehensive, passages as we used to read back in WAEC or some sort of secondary school. But when I, got to the exam hall, it was a different thing. Yeah, it was case study, but when you read it, and then when I read the first question, I discovered that I was lost. So, but I've already spent my time reading the case study. So that was my first mistake. So the first 10 questions, or first five, 9 questions, no, 10 questions were on case study, first 10 questions. So when I read the whole comprehension passage, case study, I discovered that I'd actually not got much, a little bit rejected, and I've wasted 35 minutes of my time. I was going to, solve 180 questions, and I've spent 35 questions. So after the first question that I read, I answered it. I wasn't sure if I got it or not. So then the second question was going to necessitate me to go through the case study again. So, but this time around, I just went to read the questions. So what I did differently was that I had to read the questions all through and through and discover that, okay, this was what they were asking me. So I went to the case study and started looking for the passage that addressed that matter, and then the case study is such that they are saying that there is a problem inside that case study, and you are supposed to provide solution based on the explanations actually given in the case study. So that was what I learned. So when I was done with the first 10 questions, I was given 10 minutes break. So I had a time to re-strategize myself, and then I went back into the exam again. So after first 10 questions, you're going to be given a break of 10 minutes. And then you will not be given another break again until 95th question answered. So I got back in again, and then first of all, my coach told me something before I wrote the exam. He said that there were not going to be so much deviation from what I already know, or what I was already a little bit used to. Yeah, the dynamics are different. Yeah, but the knowledge base is still the same. I mean, the applications are the same. They're not going to say that because it's now new exams that, it's now going to be changing how we approach, project management anymore. It's not going to be like that. So it gave me some level of confidence to go into the exam because I had not actually seen anyone who had gone through that exam yet. So when I started number 11, I discovered that it was actually the previous kinds of questions that were coming up again. I got to like 25th again, the case study came up again. 25th, 26th case study, the same case study came up. So I had to answer them again. Then along the line, I discovered case study kept repeatedly showing up all through the exam. But it was the same passage. that was coming up. So, but I had to use the same passage to answer a lot of questions all through the store. But overall, it was not going to be more than 22 questions thereabouts, actually. But in the first instance, the first meeting with that case study, you are going to be answering 10 questions on that case study as a stretch. And then subsequently, it will pop up in one of the questions, in the midst of other questions thereabouts. So that's about that. So I think that's about the case study, sir.
All right. Thank
Coach, I
you.
hope I've not lost everyone.
No, no,
Yes,
no.
sir.
Oh, thank you. We're following. At least I'm following. I've never done case study type of questions. Like I said, it's new. So yeah,
Yeah.
leading us into the experience. So you said there are 10 case studies. That's what the exam starts with. And then you have others scattered in between the exam. Is that it?
Note, sir, there are 10 questions on one case study.
Yes, what I'm
The
saying,
first 10 questions.
so what I'm saying is,
Okay.
did the exam start with case studies?
Yes.
The exam started with,
Yes.
yes, one case study
With
and
case
10
study.
questions
Yeah.
following, right? That's how the exam
Sir.
started for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then
Yes,
other
sir.
case
Yes, sir.
study
That's how they
questions
started.
started coming in between, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Very correct, sir.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So like,
Yes, sir.
and in
So,
total, there were like 22 case studies. That's what you're saying.
yes.
Out of the 180 exam.
In retrospect, when I started, uh, checking through, yes, sir. Yes, sir. There were
Okay.
like 22 questions thereabout.
On case study out of 180. Okay.
Hello, sir?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I can hear you. Um,
Yes, sir.
can you tell us about the AI questions? Because I know that's
Okay.
another thing
All
you
right, sir.
mentioned. So tell us about the AI questions. Yeah. Over to you.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay, sir. All right. About the AI, from one of the things I gleaned from the AI was that um, now they are trying to introduce AI to us, and that AI is solving a lot of questions in project management. But then AI is not supposed to be the one leading us, right? As project managers, we're supposed to be the one leading AI and probably even giving it, prompt on what to do. So now AI cannot manage human beings, as it were, but it may be able to help us, you know, keep track of time and the timeline of the project. It might be able to help us, um, helping us to draft some budgets and stuff like that. But they're also looking at the compliance part of the AI, that we are supposed to instruct the AI. So when AI gives me a solution, am I supposed to just accept the solution hook, line, and sinker? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go and check if what AI has given me is actually in tandem with what I know or the principles that are already in place for me. So that's what they are testing on. That's number one. Then number two aspect of the AI, because I actually have about 10 the 10 questions thereabout on AI. On the other aspect, it was talking about developing AI that is industry, specific. For instance, if I'm in finance, I'm a project manager in finance. I have to look at AI that is specifically, focused on finance. So I'm not just going to go and put prompts regarding finance on ChatGPT, which is so general. I'm going to look at AI in the aspect of finance. Now, if there are AIs that we as an organization are not so comfortable with, or we don't even have the the full understanding of what it can do or what it cannot do, then we have to develop our own AI. So these are the areas that questions about AI actually came up about. So I think that's all. So number one is compliance. Number two is localizing AI to the industry, to each industry or industry specific. Then number three is localizing AI again to your organization. So these are the three aspects that were actually touched in the questions that came up about AI, sir. Thank you, sir.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that, really. This is really good for those who haven't taken the exam. Yeah, so Mr. Abiola, please, we will take the Q&A. We have a section after the presentation where people can ask questions so that it's organized. So, Mr. Abiola, just hold on. I've sent you a message. If you have a question, if anybody has a question, we have a timing for question Q&A that Engineer Paul is going to answer, right? So, two things we've talked about is the case study questions and the AI questions. Did you notice anything about sustainability in the exam? Did you notice anything about sustainability, Engineer Paul,
Yes,
in the
very,
exam?
very much. I noticed about five questions there about that address. Yes, sir, I did. I did.
Sustainability. Okay, okay.
Hello, sir,
Um,
can you hear me?
yes, yes, I can hear you. Five questions. Can you tell us a bit more about sustainability type of questions?
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so about the sustainability part, it was okay. Okay, for instance, now there is now the PMI is trying to actually, I think what I gleaned from their questions was the fact that of for the fact of inclusion of the SDGs also. So they are bringing that and incorporating it into the AI. First, they were asking questions about green building, particularly I remember, a question regarding how that somebody wanted to build. I think it has to do more with also compliance, and that's on the aspect of the business process thereabout. There were particular countries, for instance, if I could remember vividly, one of the questions said, uh, project coming up in about five countries thereabout, and then about three countries are compliant with a particular rules and regulations, and then the other two were not, but they had to deliver on projects. So they were basically, just questions that did test business processes or our acumen in business processes and or compliance generally. So it came up much more or more of regulatory aspects, wasn't so much of anything. You have to take a lot of discernment to actually know that the question was actually addressing sustainability. So I think that's about that. That's about
Awesome.
that. They
Awesome.
were just about more compliance. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, you're very right. Because when it comes to sustainability questions, they won't put the word sustainability in the question. So, like green
Yes, sir.
energy and compliance, to standards and so on. Yes, awesome, awesome. That's great.
Thank you.
So yes. So, would you say there were more of agile questions in the exam? Was it clearly dominated by agile and hybrid questions as we see it listed? What do you have to say about agile? How many of those questions were agile hybrid based? Can you help us with that according to your own
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Mm. Thank you so much, sir. Well, one of the things I've come to learn about the PMP is that, or the questions or the exam generally, is the fact that the questions don't line up, as to number one is, like you will not see uh continuous, aspects of questions, line up accordingly, as it were. So, but as you progress in, solving questions or, attempting those questions, you start seeing uh agile, hybrid, and then those waterfall questions coming up. It can be waterfall now, then the next can be agile ones, and then the other one can be. But on the whole, what I was seeing is that I didn't really see much of the waterfall as compared to that of agile. And I even saw more, if I may say, I saw more of hybrid compared to um, waterfall, as it were. I could say that most of it was almost like every five questions I have to answer, I was meeting agile question, like that. And then the other ones were hybrid, so clearly it was demonstrated in the exam that the it was as though they were facing out the waterfall, and the part that really got me was the fact that I have been in the waterfall project management aspect for a long time. So if not for the training that I've actually taken and a couple of, questions that you have exposed me to, and how to solve those problems and all of that, I probably would not have done so well because Agile actually dominated the entire questions, alike the hybrid as well. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you, Engineer Paul. Now, I think I have one more
Yes.
question before we start looking at time management, and then we open the floor to other questions. So, what will you say about um, what will you say about the what do you call it, PMI study hall? I've been recommending PMI study hall to a lot of people. I also recommended it to you because I felt that's the closest thing to the exam. And unfortunately, PMI study hall has not included the scenario. They've not updated it. So a lot of things that you are saying, you can't even find it in
Mm.
PMI study hall. So I want you to
Yeah.
let us know how PMI study hall helped, whether it helped at all or it was a waste of time, because I still recommend it to people because I haven't seen anything closer to the exam. So what do you have to say, Engineer Paul, about PMI study hall? Yeah, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Coach. As I said earlier, I made a remark. I said that when this new exam came up, you gave me an assurance, said there was not going to be so much difference or deviation from the original body of knowledge, as it were. So the study hall is is everything that I had access to, actually, that got me um to be able to ace my exam. Is still very relevant. In fact, the case study, as I said, is just a minimal part of the entire thing. And as I said earlier, I said that it wasn't as though a comprehension passage as it used to meet it back in secondary school days. So it is still that after you read the case study, you are still going to be approaching the answering of those questions with those case study, not as though the answers are written, spelled out clearly in the case study. Is that you are still going to use the body of knowledge that you have known, or the fact that you familiarize yourself with those things over time, that you'll be able to answer the questions based on what is being asked. So, or from the case study rather. So the study hall is everything actually for me. And I would say that even if they bring in a new this thing, there's not going to be difference. It's just that they will add the case study, and that will be all. So it's everything. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And yes, so if you're prepared for exam, please, I do recommend PMI Study Hall because it's still the closest thing. And PMI Study Hall is from PMI. So, you know, and let me just say this, 85% of the previous exam is still relevant. And that's why I just thought the best exam simulator to use for now is PMI Study Hall. And we'll wait until they update with AI and case studies. But if you're still looking for something, PMI Study Hall is still the best. Now, the last set of questions I'm going to ask personally, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I did my exam almost 18 years ago. I still have an understanding and, uh, I still understand the backbone, but I'm not, I'm an old timer. That's why,
Coach,
we're
struggling
celebrating.
to hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Please, can
Yes, sir, I
someone?
can hear you very well now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Yeah, so like I said, yes, like I said, at least I've done this for close to 20 years. I understand the basic backbone of the exam. A lot has changed in from 2008 to 2026, and that's why we have put you on the podium to tell us how the exam has changed. So the last thing for me, and over time, one of the things that
Mm.
causes people to fail is not necessarily because they don't know the answer to questions. It is time management. Time management is something that has changed from the time I took my exam. When I took my exam, there was no division. You start, it was a 4 hour exam. You start 10 o'clock and you finish 2 o'clock. It was a straightforward exam, no division. But
Okay.
now the exam has been broken into, I think, 2 segments. And there's this, challenge that if you don't keep pace, you may lose a lot of time in one section and not finish the exam. Please, how did you manage your time in the exam? How did you manage your time in the exam? Yes, over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. For the record, it's no longer 240 minutes. It's now 270 minutes now. So, so number one is, just as I said earlier, when we started the exam, I spent a lot of, in fact, I wasted a lot of time on my case study. You know, I think maybe that's the reason why they added the extra 30 minutes to this. So, and there is a possibility that you might not take your 10 minutes break after the first 10 questions. But I will always advise that you take it. Why? Why? Because if you don't take it, they're not going to subtract it away from the other remaining part of the exam. So you take it, then you go and re-strategy again. The truth is that the study hall gave me a lot of guide on my time. First of all, even from the day before the exam, it taught me something to do. If I don't have good sleep, I am not going to have to attempt exam for 4 hours at a stretch. Having to attempt 4 hours stretch exam, it means that I had to have a good rest. Managing my time had to do with a day before the exam because if I don't have good sleep, I'm not going to go and having to face 4 hours of exam as a stretch. As a matter of fact, what I discover is that by the time you are finishing that exam, you might have read 100-page book. Might have read 100-page book. Then again, you might have as well critically think through to answer. You are not just reading for reading, you are reading for providing solutions to the to what you are reading. So it's more of a critical reading. So if I had not a good sleep a night before, there's no way I was going to be able to tackle it. I was going to, have a kind of my brain somehow, I will feel dizzy and all of that. So I had good night sleep a night before. So, but in the exam hall, after the first 10 questions, I was given a break of 10 minutes. Now, the break came because I had to take it. They asked me whether I should take it or not. I said I wanted to take it because I needed to re strategize. I needed to understand what is left and how I was going to be able to tackle those things. So after taking that, I went back in. Then I had to tackle from question 11 to 95 at a stretch without a break anymore. So, but I make sure by the time I was done with that one, what I was trying to do was to ensure that I was spending 70 seconds on each question, but because I've already lost like 35 minutes on the first 10 questions. So I was spending 70 seconds on each question. So, but by the time I was done with 95th question, I was already at 135 minutes. So I was able to manage my time in a sense that the 35 minutes that I've already wasted before, I was able to recover it. So when I did the calculation earlier, it was about 82 seconds per question I'm supposed to spend. Meanwhile, I've spent like 35 already, so I needed to recoup those time back. So eventually, after the 95th question, I was given a break. I had about 120, yeah, 115 minutes to go, 115 minutes to go. And I had only, solved 95 questions, which means I had 85 questions to finish. So I was a little bit behind time, I knew. But if I could keep on with my 70 seconds or 75 seconds at max, I was still going to meet up. So by the time I was done with 95th question, I was also given a review. Instead of spending time solving a question that you don't even have an idea for, maybe if you keep solving other ones along the line, you will come back, later refreshed and be able to tackle the question. So that's what I did for those 95 minutes. I mean, 95 questions. So when I was done, I had to go back again and then check and review again. Then I ensured that the ones I left unattended to about three, I solved them. And I was so certain that I got them right. But if I had solved them at the other time, I would have wasted my time and I might have even lost, those marks from there. So after the 95th question, I went on break of 10 minutes again. Then I was hungry, very hungry. So, but I had to only take water or fluid. So after the 10 minutes again, I went back in and then it was a marathon. I was able to finish in 5 minutes before the exam eventually. So it gave me ample time to actually review and review and review again. And I was able to finish up. But another thing that helped again was that I have solved from town, from the um exam, study hall. I've solved those 180 questions over and over and over and over and over again. So it actually gave me an inkling to what I was to expect in the exam. There were times that I will lag by 10 minutes by the time I was done solving those 180 questions. There were times I will have, excess of 5 minutes. But until I was able to have excess of 15 minutes, I knew I was not ready for the exam. So that's what actually helped me. Thank you, sir. I think that answers the question.
Awesome, 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 Engineer Paul. One more question from me, and we'll open the doors for questions so that others can ask their own questions. Now, in your 10-minute break, are you allowed to
Yes, sir.
take a snack, take a drink, Um, were you allowed to, the 10-minute break? Are you allowed to take a snack? Are you allowed to, maybe take a small nap? What happened in your 10-minute break? Yeah. So,
Okay. My first 10 minutes break. Okay. What I read from the exam guide from Person's View is my 10 minutes. I am allowed to even go out of the premises, but it is still specific to um to the exam center. The rules that they have there, whether you'll be allowed to even step out or not. So, but when I was done with you can take a nap if you can do it. It's possible. You can take it. And you can be rest assured that they will actually wake you once your 10 minutes is over. They will remind you if you are within the premises. For me, they didn't allow me to step out. So, but there was no even time for me to take a nap. I was just thinking and re-strategizing my timing. I knew I had already lost 35 minutes and then I have to cover it up. Otherwise, I was not going to meet up. So those were the things that were going through my mind. So then you are allowed to take a drink, and then, but you are not allowed to bring anything into the exam hall. So if you had brought water to the exam center, fine, you can take that. But they will give you a locker, you put every of your belongings, including money, your wallet, your phone. Nothing must follow you to the exam hall. But the exam center allows that you can take a drink. In fact, you can even send them to help you get a drink if you don't have access to one when in your break. I think that's it, sir.
awesome. Thank you, Engineer Paul. So, to wrap this up, we'll just ask if you have any questions, please raise your hand so that you can, yes, you can ask the question. So I'll do it in the order I see the hand. So let's welcome Engineer Sani Ahmed. Please ask your question, followed by Engineer Biola Olubodu. Yeah, Engineer Sani, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Shagun. Good evening, fellow learners, and should we now call you um, our lead now in this process? Abi,
Yeah,
our role model,
Thank you, Engineer
Engineer Paul.
Sani.
Congratulations once again.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. So please, just one quick question from me. Can you estimate what percentage of the study hall questions you practice that you saw in the exams? Can you estimate that percentage? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Engineer Sani. It's good to hear from you too. Uh, okay. In the study hall generally, there are about um a, a kind of 20 questions, on agile, um, hybrid, on waterfall. They mix them like that. Number five can be hybrid, number six can be waterfall, number seven can be agile. They just keep alternating them like that. So I think I solved about 20 of those questions, which is like about that's like about 400 questions. Then I solved those 180 questions, four of them. So then I've been solving other ones too. So I've solved about 1,000 questions, if I may say. Hello, Engineer Sani. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm here.
Can
Thank you very
anybody?
much. Yes, I heard
Okay.
you. So what I was asking was actually from the study hall and the questions you practiced. Just asking if per chance you can recall if there are any
Mm.
percentage of those questions alike in the exams that you took. That's my question actually.
Oh, okay. My apologies, please. Well, they are not questions alike. In fact, I don't know how they do it. But what gave me the assurance is that a principle is a principle. It does not matter how. the question is framed. So questions framed on a particular principle, and that's where the advice coach gave to me was very handful at the time. I discovered that while solving those questions in the study hall, sometimes I was getting 53 over percent. Sometimes I would get 60%. But at each point of getting 53%, I will go over the corrections. So there's a place for reviewing there. So I'll go over all of those reviewing. So after reviewing, I will take the exam again. So on each of those questions, I was repeating it twice. So I will take the exam again and then I will get 100%, 90 something percent. Sometimes I will tell myself that maybe because I'm just actually solving the questions now or reviewing it now, that's how I'm getting that. So when I solve other ones, I will come back again to that very one and then tackle it again. Then this time I get like 98 or 93. Then I know that I'm okay, I'm fine with that one. So, but overall, I can't say there are no similar questions, but then the principles are the same. That's what I can say. Thank you, Engineer Sani.
Okay, let me
That's
say,
quite insightful. Thank you
yeah,
very much.
let me say something, and I think just to
Yes,
interject
sir.
a little bit. So PMI uh, PMI hardly repeats questions. So if you do an exam, even on their own platform, you probably won't see it again. And I think that's what Paul, that word for word questions is very difficult to see word for word questions. But I guess,
Yeah,
yes, but I guess what
very, very.
Paul is saying is that these questions are alike in concept, in presentation, but not exactly alike word for word, right? Am I right,
Yes,
Paul?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Coach, that's it. You're right. You're
Okay.
right. You're right. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Mm.
So we hear from, thank you, Engineer Sani, for your question. Let's hear from Engineer Abiola Olubodu. Uh, Over to you, please. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir, Mr. AK. Thank you for organizing this, this meetup, and also congratulations to Engineer Paul. Thank you, for taking the bull by the horn,
Thank you, sir.
for leading it back. All right. So I think I have, I have about three
Yes.
questions. It's a form of query for some of us that are still pushing it. So I wanted to ask you here,
Mhm.
what is your preparation period?
Okay, sir.
That was one. And what is your preparation period? Is it 2 months? Is it 3 months? That was one. Number two, what are the other materials that you use alongside as pro material? Because I know some of the material that we're giving is actually quite strong. However, maybe you added some other materials to it, like some other tools aside the PMI study or that's true. Then number three, when you were talking about the case study, and you said it's about almost 25 questions. No, is it that it's just one case scenario, right? And after that one case scenario, then you have multiple questions that came out from that one case scenario. So that is just my three questions, right? At least for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, the number one question is, my pace, of study. How long did I start before writing the exam? So I will say that I work in a very challenging place, like I rarely have time for myself, and my time is heavily competed for. In fact, it's always a tug of war to even go on a leave, even though I I have the right for that leave, but I really don't have the time to go on leave. So I started preparing last year, but I couldn't say if I were really, really, as I told you earlier, I started off training somewhere. And by the time I was done training, it was as though I didn't know anything, but I didn't know anything. That was the reality, you know. I got, PMBOK 6th edition, PMBOK Guide 6th edition. And I was reading it. I was taking it topic by topic. I was reading the thing, Yeah, I have the body of knowledge, but can I really tackle case, you know, as the exams are presented, can I really tackle them? I wasn't sure I could. So I would say that my preparation actually started um this year, and that was around March. You know, it was March. I really gave it all it took to start studying it because I was thinking I was going to take the exam in May. But then May came, I knew I was not ready. Then I had a lot of back and forth. There was no time. But if I could estimate all of the time I use in studying that, it shouldn't be more than 3 months. That is, I did a scattered studying in between. There were time weeks I might not even have access to any study material because I was going to be very, very busy. By the time I'm coming back, I'm tired. But 3 months altogether, I think it's enough to actually get it or to ace it. So that's on that one. And number two, if I had access to other materials apart from study hall, yes, coach gave us a lot of materials. Before even the study hall, he gave us some couple of questions to be solving. Those questions were on scope, on integration, on, topically, they were like that. So, but I was studying those. Then I have my PMBOK guide, 6th edition. I read that. But at some point I had to leave that one because at that critical time I was running towards passing my exam. And if you need to pass your exam, I wouldn't recommend PMBOK guide 6th edition or any edition to read really. Because if you read them, they are not case scenario questions there, or the kind of questions that are framed there are going to be asking you what is risk, what is SLA, and all of that. If this happen, what kind of. So they are like knowledge-based questions that are there that you have to be tackling. Of course, if you have to be a good project manager, you have to read it. So you have to read. I read it, you know. So, and then um I also did something for myself on, ChatGPT then, but it didn't really help much because I wasn't so sure of the kind of questions as they were supposed to be. So that's on that. So I think that's number. But I've missed it. Please, can you remind me, sir?
You mean the
Mr.
third
Viola, are you
question?
there, sir?
You mean the
Okay.
third question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you made mention about the case study questions. So I
Oh,
wanted
yeah,
to,
I
yeah, so
get it now.
yeah, I just
Thank you,
wanted
sir.
to know, was it just one scenario, how you were given multiple questions to answer from that one case scenario? I just wanted to know, are there multiple case scenarios that sort of gave birth to several questions?
It was just one case scenario majorly. The second one that came up briefly, and there were just only two questions on it, and that was all. But there was just only one major case scenario question, case scenario, and then the questions were just churned out of just that case scenario alone. But the other one that came up was a kind of about three passages, and then only two questions came out, but the first one had the bulk of the questions coming from it. So just that.
All right, thank you, sir. I think that's all for me for now. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Engineer Paul. We congratulate you once again. But let me, before we
Thank you, sir.
say goodbye, I just want to check if we don't have any other person asking questions. I think we don't have any other person. So I'm sure that you can see firsthand what you should prepare for the current exam. In fact, I've also been corrected. It's no longer 240 minutes, it's now 270 minutes. Okay, we have Engineer Chidi. Okay, he has a question. Please go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Shegun, and good evening, Engineer Paul. Good evening, other colleagues here
Good evening, sir.
who are trying to get certified just like me too. I want to thank uh, Sir Shegun for organizing this session because it shows the passion that he has for what he's doing, and it shows that he's really interested in seeing his proteges succeed, even as the examination has just turned a new leaf. I want to also thank Engineer Paul for taking out time to come here to tell us about his experience in the recent exam and for giving us some of the nuggets that he has used to help himself out and to be successful in the exam. I gathered from, I don't have a question per se, but I just want to put the things I learned from him here. About 22 scenario questions generally is about what he saw. I really must, uh, uh, how do I say, I really must appreciate the fact that he has time to even know the number of questions maybe on scenario, the number of questions on AI questions, number of questions on sustainability. I don't think I will really do that if I take the exam. I don't think I will have that kind of strength. And for taking time too to really look at the timing and all the rest of them, noticing all these little things about the exam. I think I have so much gratitude for that, and I can't thank you enough. I believe my other colleagues here will equally feel that way too. And thanks for equally telling us about how the agile and the hybrid questions have actually become the dominant questions in the exam. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank my other colleagues who took out time here to come in here to listen to somebody who has actually taken the bull by the horn and has succeeded in doing that, because for me, it is very inspiring. Thank you very
Awesome issues, but I think Mr. Chidi, yes, give us a good vote of thanks. Thank you, sir,
It's
for
even out of
your
back.
comments. Yes, thank you, sir, for your comments, and thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Engineer Paul. We celebrate you and congratulate you again. And please note,
My pleasure.
yes, please carry me along when you're taking your exam. Please don't do it in secrecy. Carry me along so that advice I can say. Sometimes I get information. For example, I just realized that PMI has added an exam insurance of $45, such that if you pay the exam insurance and you fail the exam, you can retake it for you can retake the exam for an extra $45, but you have to pay it. This is something new that just came up. So if you're taking the exam, please carry me along because sometimes I get new information that I did not know before so that I can advise. So, Engineer Paul, thank you once again. Thank you for joining everybody. I wish you a lovely rest tonight. See you at the top. Good night and God bless from here. Thank you so much once again. Bye, everybody.